Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of 2019. This is the Road Travel Podcast, and my name is Jesse Hunt. On today's episode, we have guest Melody Hansen, who is an artist, an illustrator, and all-around creative individual. We talk about how being an artist or creative in any sense of the term can be an exhausting, anxiety-filled way to go through life. We are constantly trying to make a living while trying to push our craft, learn, and come up with new ideas, all the while wondering if our work is any good. Melody gives us a great look into what it is that she thinks about and what inspirations go into the art that she makes. She also gives us a very unique look into one of her pieces of art and what it was that she was thinking about when the piece was created. If you've been enjoying the show, I'd love it if you'd leave a review or a rating on iTunes or whatever platform it is that you use to listen. Believe it or not, it actually helps get the show out there for other people that may be interested in listening. All right, enjoy the show. So what's new and exciting?
That's a good question to start with.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. It's kind of been a slow season for me. So a lot of waiting, a lot of patience. And I guess that's kind of exciting in a way, just waiting for something to happen.
Is there anything that you're specifically waiting for?
Yes. Well, I'm waiting to transition to LA.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a huge bomb dropped.
So it's just waiting right now. It's been almost a year of kind of going through the process of moving country. And so, yeah, my sister lives out there. My parents, basically my whole family lives out in California right now. Yeah, so I'm the only one in Canada.
They just left you behind. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. It's good. But yeah, my sister got married to an American, lived out in Houston for a little bit, and just moved to LA just this year. And since we do a lot of work together, just makes sense to be in the same city.
Of course.
Yeah.
So are you waiting to find an American to marry, then move down? Or are you going through the actual legal process of doing it?
No, I'm going through the visa process.
Okay.
And yeah, it's taking a bit of time, but
yeah. I've heard that unless you're willing to pay thousands upon thousands of dollars, it can take a while.
Yeah. Well, definitely paid those thousands of dollars.
Oh,
too.
really? Jeez.
Yeah.
So why don't we do a little bit of an introduction as far as like what it is that you do exactly. My knowledge of Melody Hansen is you're an artist.
Yes.
Very talented artist.
Thank you.
On many levels, you're a musician and a visual artist. Would that be the correct terminology?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I kind of call myself all sorts of different things.
I'm just an artist.
Yeah.
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 Cool.
That sums it up.
How long have you been an artist for?
Well, I went to OCAD
Okay.
for a year and a half. It was a 4-year program for graphic design, and I didn't feel like I could last, so I stopped after a year and a half. And I think it was just a time for me to experiment and see what I wanted to do, because I still didn't really know what I wanted to do. I think a lot of it just kind of happened. Like I basically went with a couple people to the portfolio day. I took a year off after high school, went to portfolio day, and just like presented my laptop of PowerPoint presentation that I made and like 3 sketchbooks. And then I got an early admission into OCAD. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll do that. Like everything kind of just lined up. So I didn't really, I was thinking about what I wanted to do, but I wasn't really like, yes, this is what I've always wanted to do. So I did graphic design for a little bit and was like, okay, I'm just going to take this time off to experiment. And so just kind of started freelancing in design, and that sort of organically grew. And then I got on Instagram and would start posting some illustrations that I made, but I never really thought of myself as an illustrator. Like I always, especially being in an art school, thought that I was bad at drawing. which I still think I am. But I mean, that's the point. I think that's what people connect to, is like the rawness of my drawings, I guess. But anyway, yeah, it just kind of built to from Instagram, and now I think I have more confidence in what I'm doing, so I can do a lot more. Yeah. But I still feel like I don't fit into that category of Illustrator or.
I feel like that is a common feeling, like a little bit of imposter syndrome. Would that be what it is? Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I think the majority of people that I've talked to on this podcast, all being creatives, we're all kind of find an agreement in we are somewhat feel like we somewhat don't belong in what we're doing, despite the fact that we're like literally professionals and doing it for a living.
Yeah.
I think that in a way is healthy, not to constantly focus on that, but to have a little bit of that, I think keeps you searching, keeps you working to get better, I guess.
Yeah, no, totally. I think the fact that I feel like I just stumbled into it, and it's not like I have theory in me. I feel like I have more room to experiment.
Kind of, in a way, lets you know that you're doing what you're supposed to do, I would think.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, because I'm doing something right.
Yeah. I've thought of it like that before because I was in a similar situation where when I was graduating high school, I was sitting in the counselor's office, sitting on a computer. Okay, you have to apply for something. I applied for some media program, and I don't attribute anything that I'm doing right now to that, but it definitely got me in going down this road and the people that I met. And I just kind of kept stumbling into the opportunities. And now if I sit back and think about it, I don't think I could do anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's definitely something in the back of my mind that the only thing that I've always wanted to do was be a performer on Broadway.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of come back in the recent year of like, I want to get into theater because I did theater and drama all through middle and high school. But I guess now, and I feel like it does connect with my work somehow, but that's definitely something I don't want to not try before I die. But other than that, I feel like I'm doing everything that I want to do, which is a nice feeling.
Absolutely. How do you find it as a freelance illustrator?
Challenging.
Yeah.
I am doing a few different things. So I'm working in design as well, which gives me room to have, I guess, more possibilities or more options. But I have been feeling it being challenging recently, and just feeling like, because I think up until now I've had most clients come to me, and now I'm like, oh, I actually have to go out there and present myself to people. So that has been my, I guess, current phase of just learning how to do that, how to expand myself, how to challenge myself in getting more work that I want to work on, and bigger projects. So that has been, I guess, my learning curve.
So what specifically have you been doing to do that? Like, is it going out and networking, or is it just...
I think thinking more intentionally about what I want to do, and think about specifically like what kind of projects do I want to work on, and how do I build pitches successfully enough to actually get those jobs.
Sure.
Which I think is a big part of freelancing and a big part of being an artist, is getting the jobs that you actually want, and going out there and stretching yourself. Yeah. So that has been what I'm learning, and just kind of opening my eyes to what, and kind of being more strategic about it too. Just realizing what's like trendy, what people are gravitating towards, and how I can use that into my own work.
But then also applying what you're good at, and trying to make it come through in that.
Yeah.
I think for me as a director, that's one thing, because you obviously want to get the job. So you're trying to take their idea and write a treatment or write a pitch or whatever it may be something that appeals to them based on what you know about them, but also you want your talent, your art to kind of like shine through a little bit.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's the point? I guess if you
Right.
need to make money, so sometimes you got to do that. But
Yeah.
that's something that I've learned in the last couple of years, and I'm nowhere near close to mastering that at all. But I have learned when I first started, I noticed I was writing a lot of things based on just trying to get the job, and pretty much just like writing about executing their idea. Wasn't working. And then something clicked in me being like, well, if I'm just going to keep losing jobs, I may as well take their idea and write about how I want to do it.
Right. Yeah.
And at least I'm leaving it all on the table, right? At least if they don't like my idea, then that's why I'm losing it, not because I am not
Right.
bringing anything to the table, I guess.
Yeah. Just putting your unique part of you into everything that you do.
Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. And just accepting that, like, okay, people don't want that. Or
Which
like,
is, which is fine. Everybody has, I don't know, different wants and
yeah,
needs.
for sure.
I don't know if you notice this, but I have found that connections that you make, or if you invest in like a project or something like that, hoping to get something in return out of it, a lot of times I have found that it takes a year or two to come back around.
That's true.
And it took a year or two of getting, kicked while you're down to realize and actually see that come to fruition.
Yeah.
Example of the job I'm working on right now is I did a really low budget job 2 years ago, put everything I had into it. It went really well. I really enjoyed the job, but just now they came back and they came right to me instead of bidding it out to other directors because they're like, oh, hey, we like what you did with this. Can you do this and it's for a hospital. And they're like, we like what you did with this other hospital. Can you do this again? So, and it's bigger budget now. So it's worth it.
Yeah. That's why, I mean, networking is a huge part, but just also investing in people and just kind of trusting that it leads, or that it can be fruitful, which is something that I've definitely learned over the years.
Investing in relationships, I think, is important.
Yeah, for sure.
I find that my concern a lot of times is that people see through that. So if you are at like some sort of a gathering or something like that, and there's people there that you want to work with, and you go up to them and you're kind of starting to have this conversation, whatever it may be, I always am of the opinion that that is happening to them constantly, and they see right through it.
Yeah.
Where in my mind, sure, if that happened, we got to work together down the road, that'd be awesome. But for the most part, I just want to develop a relationship with people that are into the same stuff that I'm into, that do good work, really.
Yeah.
So it's always a little bit of a balancing act between like, how do you meet these people and develop a relationship without them thinking that you're full of shit?
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think is a very common thing in the industry, or in any industry, I think. And that's something, working in music as well. My sister and I make music, and we want to find people that we want to work with. And I know over the last few years, we've been, we're trying to figure out how to maneuver the music industry, and people, will connect you with people, but then if you're not really connecting on a personal level, I find that really hard to keep going with that relationship and to like force something. And if the person doesn't really want to work with you, and then and I found that over the time, the people that you actually connect with on a personal level are the people that are really going to stick with you and actually support you and want you to succeed, and you want to help them. And it becomes this like such a stronger relationship.
Yeah.
And then in work, it'll be a stronger relationship too. So
I agree.
I think building actual relationships with people and like being genuinely interested in them and seeing them succeed too is really important.
Yeah, I guess that is something to look out for. You have to, if you're expecting people to invest in you and your success, you have to be willing to do the same.
Yeah, because it just becomes, I don't know, it's very self-centered work then, and that can become draining. But I think I think it's just important as humans that we connect with each other on a genuine level.
Yeah.
And I think support goes both ways too.
Yeah. It's interesting. That's an interesting topic. Like just taking it away from work completely, the importance of connecting with other people, especially right now. So much negativity, it seems, in the world, and so much divide, when really we're all the same, whether we believe the same things or have the same values. We're all just trying to make it work somehow.
Yeah. And isolation or building walls around ourselves is really not healthy. And I think that I feel it with myself when I go through phases where I'm like, I don't want to hang out with people, or I don't want to see people. I don't want to talk to strangers, or I just want to stay home. And I know that for me, if I do that for longer than like 2 or 3 days where I isolate myself, I feel it. Like, I feel that it's unhealthy for me. And I know that I need to talk. Like, I just need to let people know how I'm doing, how I'm feeling, and kind of get that back. And just, yeah. I think when we build walls and when we isolate ourselves, it becomes not healthy.
Yeah. Do you have a core group of people that you do that with, or like where do you go for that sort of support? Or
I definitely have a close circle of friends that I talk to, that will meet for tea and just talk about how we're doing, and especially freelancer to freelancer. I think that's super important, to just know where we're at, and just to spend time with people, because I think I don't really like to work in coffee shops. I work mostly from home, so that's already a pretty lonely space. But yeah, to just hear someone's journey or how they're doing, I think even uplifts me. So I definitely have a couple people that I tend to meet regularly with.
Are you like part of any like art collective of some sort?
I'm not, but I think I'd like to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't really go out of my way to find them.
Mm-hmm.
But are you in a part of a group?
I'd say the closest thing I have to that is like photo club.
Oh, yeah.
That you were part of. You were the honorary member of for one night because everybody else was gone. That roll of film that we put in the camera still has not been shot. It is sitting on my shelf right now.
Well, you've got great scenery. But even that, like sometimes, I don't know, I just like to be within people, even if I'm not actually joining the activity.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's still a fun time, right? Like I think more than anything, like we shot pictures, but it's more about the conversation that we have when we're going on the way. The people that you meet wouldn't have met you if that hadn't happened. So now here we are having this crazy conversation.
I know, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I love that stuff. And that's how I met all those guys. Actually, I just I knew Dwight, but I had never met Rob or like that group of people at all until I started shooting some film, and through a couple mutual friends connected, and one day we all just went out, and the rest is history. Have you gone on any cool trips lately?
Gosh, no. I haven't really traveled in a while. I mean, I'm originally from Switzerland.
Oh, cool.
And I haven't been to Europe in 11 years, which makes me sad. But I'd love to.
Yeah.
I'd love to go and visit. And
when did you move here?
2006 for Canada.
Okay.
I was in Montreal for 5 months, and my family moved to Toronto. Well, Mississauga. It was January 1st, 2007.
Wow.
Yeah. New Year's Day.
Wow. So how old were you?
I was 17.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. So you
Or 16 on my birthday.
So you grew up for a good chunk of your life in Switzerland?
Yes and no. I lived half of it in Switzerland and then half in Florida.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All opposite places.
So you've moved all over the place.
I guess. I mean, just those places, really.
Yeah. So what made your family want to relocate to California, and why didn't you go with them?
I don't know. My best friend was having a baby. I wanted to be here for that, and I also wanted to do it properly.
Okay.
Because I knew I was going to freelance, and I knew that I wanted the proper visa for that to allow me to do that. So, and I think I just wanted to live on my own for a bit and experience that in a city I'm familiar with.
Sure.
'Cause I hadn't really done that, and it's been a really great experience. I think I wasn't ready, but I am now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What is intriguing about California outside of is it purely for work reasons? Is it the lifestyle that comes with it? Is it the closeness to family?
A few different things. The first time I went to LA was 3-4 years ago. And it was my sister and one of my good friends, and we made a trip out of it and just fell in love with it. And I think a lot of it was the colors and the I guess architecture and style and design of it that really captured us. And I mean, we would just literally do photo shoots just for fun out there and just go for like a few days and come here. But yeah, and then since then I've gone, I don't know, like 6-7 times. Well, now even more that my family's there. But it really intrigued me and my sister, and I think because we dabble in a lot of different creative things and music, we just felt that it was a good city to invest in, or at least to try and see what that can bring. I mean, it's such a strange city in the sense it has so many creative people, and yet still people connect with each other, and there's constantly opportunities. And I didn't want to just be there for a few weeks. Like, I wanted to really root myself in the city and see what that would do.
You kind of have to get the full full experience, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from. I do love LA.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I have this like off and on relationship with it where sometimes it just feels like too much and I need that time away from it. But I think, I don't know, I want to experience living in it and see what that's like.
The nice thing is if you do need a break, you can just go up to Yosemite or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's so many, and not to say you can't do that here, but
it's
a different.
Yeah. There's just so many different sceneries that you can get. Really.
Yeah. I love California as a whole. My wife and I did a road trip probably about a year ago, exactly a year ago, and started in LA, drove up to Vancouver, but just along the way, there's so many spots that you can go and so many different experiences. I love it. Yeah. I'm so torn between wanting to live in LA and wanting to live in New York. I think that
that's always the conversation.
I know. It's the problems that we have. Such first world problems. Where do I want to live? What cool city do I want to reside in?
I mean, I kind of wish Canada had a bit more bigger, cooler cities.
Yeah, I agree. There's Toronto, Montreal is pretty cool.
Yeah, Montreal is cool.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it's until you experience those cities down there, I don't even know how to put into words.
Yeah,
what it is. New York for me, just being there, the vibe I get from like the hustle around you all the time. It's just inspiring. Just being on the streets, just like, all right, I'm ready to do this.
Yeah.
I'd probably never make it. I'd probably die there, but it's inspiring. I come back and I do good work here.
Yeah. You can never say that. You never know.
It's true. You do never know until you try it.
Yeah.
And I like that it's close. So I can just, it's an hour flight away,
That's
right?
true.
And it's relatively affordable to get back and forth. So one day, I'm sure one day you'll get there too for Broadway.
Yeah, maybe that dream will actually happen.
So, your sister and yourself do music. Do you have is there a band name or?
Yes. Right now it's SONAGUR.
Okay.
But I haven't really shared at all that we're thinking of changing that. So
Oh,
we're
shit.
thinking of changing that.
Don't tell anybody.
But yeah, it's SONAGUR
Okay.
right now. We have 2 singles. And we just want maybe something more personal. We can't do Hansen. Right? So we're trying to find a way to actually incorporate it without it being, I mean, it's 1 letter difference.
I was going to say the name's spelled the same. You could really by all of the people that Google and make a spelling error, you guys could really take off because of that.
That's what I'm saying, but I don't know if that will I don't know. I don't know if we'll get in trouble for that, but
Yeah, do you really want to be known for
exactly
that?
for that? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're trying to think of some other way to incorporate it, but
That's cool though.
Yeah.
What kind of music would you say that you do?
well, the 2 singles we have now, we released 2-3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's a mix of real live instruments and electronic, more synth.
Synth pop.
Yeah, I guess you can call it that. It's the easiest term for it. And we are kind of shifting our sound or trying new things. But I mean, it'll probably remain within that synth pop category.
Cool.
But we do want to mix a lot of different things that we like. Whether it be, I don't know, hip hop or we're really into films and cinematography, so we kind of want it to make it a little cinematic. But I know Lana Del Rey is very cinematic, so kind of in that route.
Cool. So have your sister and you always just done music, or is she an artist to some other capacity also, or?
Yeah, she does primarily photography and video. And we worked together since we were in high school. We would do photo shoots and kind of create our own ideas and sets. And we wanted to put those skills together and form more of a duo. So we're forming an agency. And it's kind of a way to bring our forces together and maybe be more powerful or be more impactful together.
Is it like a creative agency?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our goal is to work on bigger projects and campaigns or things that would involve a lot of creative direction and video, or just that we can use our skills in all different components. And eventually we'd love to work with our friends.
Cool.
So just involve all of our creative friends and just kind of create a team of people.
Mm-hmm. LA and Toronto based?
I mean, I would love that.
Yeah.
I'd love to still keep connections here while being out there. Kind of a west-east coast bridge.
It's pretty cool. That's awesome. Have you guys worked together on things like that in the past, as far as client work, or?
We had a few projects where it was the both of us, and it worked really well. So we just thought, let's just do that and do it professionally and actually present ourselves in that way.
Cool. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Do you have a name yet, or is it still kind of in the?
Yeah, it's jumelles.
Oh wow.
Which ironically means twins in French.
Okay. Are you guys twins?
We're not twins.
Okay.
Just a play on words.
Hey, that's cool. I love it. So we initially started talking about seasons and learning how to distribute your focus across various avenues, because you do your own personal work. You're a designer as a career. You have online stores. You're a musician.
Yeah.
So many endeavors.
I'm tired already.
Yeah, seriously, sorry. How do you, so what is the last, let's break it down. Let's say last year, because you said that it's been an interesting season of kind of like learning how to cope with various things changing. What sort of things specifically?
I feel like I'm putting my energy in a lot of different things, and then as a result, feeling very tired from it. So I'm trying to figure out where to put my energy into, and what can take a break or what might not be as important. Because I think sometimes I get carried away by, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, because people are asking for it and people want, a shop to shop things for or buy prints, and but then at the same time I need to do work and do my job, and so I feel like I'm stretching myself a lot, and so I'm trying to figure out, okay, what are some things that maybe I don't necessarily need to sell things right now, or I don't need to focus on that, or I don't need to do this. I don't need to please everyone all the time. I can kind of do something that works for me and make it work with everyone else. So that's kind of been where I'm at, is just learning what's the next step for me, and what I can do that will still work with people, that I can still have accessible art for people, but not necessarily have to constantly think about new products to put on a shop or things like that.
With that many things going on, do you find that you ever, and I only say this because I personal experience, get what this term that I learned recently, analysis paralysis. So it's kind of like you have so many things going on, and it can get so daunting that you end up sitting there not doing anything, because it's kind of like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, I totally feel that.
Yeah.
I think it goes along with how my mind is feeling tired, and so I feel like it just sounds overwhelming just in my head of thinking about everything. And so I tend to just focus on like one small detail, and then that will take a whole day. I'm like, oh, okay, that day's done. Okay. And like, I don't have the energy to do anything else.
Yeah.
So I think just reevaluating what priorities are, what is important right now.
And then simplify. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think because I tend to always want to please everyone, that I'm like, okay, I need to have this, I need to have that available, I need to have this. But sometimes I just need to put boundaries on that. And I think the season for that might not be right now, might come later. Just kind of feeling, just focusing on what's important.
It's easier said than done.
Yes.
Yeah. Something that I came across in the last, right before I started this podcast, is this movie on Netflix called Minimalism.
I haven't seen that one.
Definitely worth watching. And it has actually gone a long way in helping me adjust how I look at things as far as that kind of thing. Because before I had so many interests. That was my problem. I had so many interests, so many different things I wanted to do. This podcast being one of them. Wanted to make videos for YouTube. Trying to be like, I would love to make films. Trying to get my commercial career off the ground. All these different things. All these things that take a lot of time and creative energy. To the point of like, I think I was getting mentally unwell because I was kind of like, the more I thought about all that stuff, the more kind of, I wouldn't say depressed I was getting, but like I just froze up. I couldn't do anything. Stumbled across this movie, watched it, really started looking into minimalism. My wife will say that I'm on a kick, but I don't, I really like it. I've actually, like, since then we've gone through our whole place and got rid of tons of stuff. And that's only one aspect of minimalism, but also just choosing the things that are important to me and focusing on them more and seeing them through. And in turn have made myself happier because of that. It's tough when a big part of what we do is making money, because it's such a weird thing. Being an artist, but then also having to make money from your art too, it can really kind of make things kind of messy and complicated. But trying to separate that a little bit and just focusing on the things that I really want to do and kind of hoping / letting that stuff take care of itself in a way has been an interesting, I guess that's kind of the season I'm in at the moment. It's just letting things happen and really working towards the things that I really want to do.
I feel like I need to do that.
Yeah.
Go through all the stuff that I have and get rid of some things. And like you said, I think decide what I want to focus on right now. And
yeah, it's not just about the physical things. It's like that helps. I've noticed for myself that we just had a bunch of stuff, not a ton of stuff, but clutter. And that, without you knowing it, can actually make you unhappy. And immediately when we got rid of a bunch of stuff, started organizing things, I got rid of tons of equipment that I wasn't using, just, getting rid of clutter. And all of a sudden my brain just felt great. And I was happy to be home.
Yeah.
But then, instating that into your mindset and then applying other elements of minimalism into, simplifying the things that you're going to do. At the start of the day, for example, write out 3 things that you're going to focus on that day. That's it. Nothing else matters. Just try and keep it simple.
I realized this. I keep everything in my head, which becomes very exhausting.
Yeah.
But even like I've just recently started using the Google Calendar app. I'm like, okay, I'm going to start putting things down because I don't know where this comes from, but I just keep everything in my head and I'm like, okay, I'll remember things easily. But that becomes tiring. So I feel like lists or just writing things down, I need to do more of that.
Yeah.
And just get things out of my head so that I have a little bit more room to think of other things.
No, and that goes back to the analysis paralysis thing. If you have too much going on in here, not a bad thing, but you can freeze up.
Yeah.
It just becomes overwhelming, all these things you have to think about.
Totally.
I'd love to talk about your artwork a little bit because I find it so fascinating and interesting.
Yeah.
And I wrote down deeply emotional.
I love that.
Would you say that is an accurate description of what it is?
Yes. I've had some people say it's sad, and I don't know why I get turned off by that comment because I think it's emotional, yes, but it's not necessarily sad because some things, I think for me, a lot of the illustration work that I do, my personal work, is just releasing what I'm feeling. And yes, some things can be sad realizations, but they actually allow me to grow. And for me, I find actually that's quite good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they are very deep because I spend a lot of time thinking about what I'm feeling and trying to put that into words. And I do actually spend a lot of time thinking about what I want and how I want to say it. So a simple phrase might seem like, that might take 5 minutes, but sometimes it takes me days to figure out, I don't want that word in there. I want to find another word for what I'm feeling. So yeah, there's a lot of thought behind it, and everything has to do with my emotions. So
see, it's interesting because for me, that is the definition of art. Like an emotional connection of some sort. And that's why I appreciate that very much. I wouldn't say that your work is necessarily sad unless it's like a sad piece of art, which isn't a bad thing. There's sad movies, there's sad, it's all based on the story that you're telling in that time. But art without emotion behind it doesn't, I don't know. I'm sure every artist would argue that there's emotion involved in it in some capacity. But for me, the movies I want to make, the commercials I want to make, I want to give people the feels, so, and I want to feel it. That's the thing. When I was kind of going through the process of trying to find my voice and the stuff that I want to be working on, if it doesn't make me not to sound sad, but if it doesn't make me physically uncomfortable, whether it may be, I don't know, I like the sad aspect a little bit because I think it sits with people a little bit more. But yeah, I don't know, that's what makes art interesting to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely connect the most with art that makes me think.
Mm-hmm.
And that it kind of hits me.
Yeah.
And that's what I always try to incorporate. Not always. I mean, sometimes I just want to say something funny or
Yeah.
witty. But most of the time I want it to kind of feel like, at least for me, it's hitting me in my heart.
Sure.
And so I want it to, I think in response, hit other people in a nice.
Yeah. You're very public with where you present your art. Do you ever worry that people will not understand it or will not connect with it or not like it?
I think maybe I still have some growing to do, but I definitely have come to a place where I feel confident enough to not totally worry about what people's response will be. Well, then it depends, because I've gotten comfortable. I actually was thinking about this the other day. I've gotten comfortable with talking about my relationships with people and that side. But I've been really wanting to talk politics in my work recently, and just my observations and my thoughts on what's going on in society and culture, because I think there's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as artists, we should have a voice in what's culturally and politically going on.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd love to incorporate more of my thoughts on that, and that's what I haven't tried yet, and that's where I don't know what responses will be like.
Mm-hmm.
So I've gotten comfortable with, talking about romance and relationships and whatever, and heartbreak. And I mean, everyone relates to that.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to making it a bit more targeted, I think that will be interesting. Like, I think I'm going to get there where I'm going to start talking about it. But I think that's where I'm not comfortable yet. But in this... And it's interesting because people will interpret things very differently than what I expect it to be. So I'll write something and it'll be like a specific thought in my mind and release it. And then I'm like, I'm getting a totally different response. Or like people are taking this as like really hopeful. And I was like, oh, maybe there wasn't much hope in it. Or I mean, not hope, but like it wasn't really thinking of that particular situation, and people are taking it that way. And you just accept it. Like, I think I know people are going to interpret things differently than what I intend to. And that's okay. Like,
that's good. Yeah.
people relate to it in their own ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't slow you down. You don't.
No.
Yeah.
I've actually thought about to make more, because I want to have more of a conversation around my work. And so I've just been thinking of ways to do that. And I would love to do like little video series, very short, maybe just on Instagram, but just to kind of talk about each piece, or there's a piece that I release and to talk about it. Just to kind of get a response and see what people actually, if they were thinking that same thing, or if they like had no idea that was the meaning behind it, or just to kind of start a conversation around it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's do it right now. We can you can break it down a little bit. What went into, so let's open it up. Is there anything specifically that you know that you would like to talk about? I'm on your Instagram right now.
There's one piece that I posted a few weeks ago that was something about there's no right or wrong way to be human, that I've gotten some different thoughts on.
So maybe for the thousands of people that listen to this podcast but don't watch it, describe it.
It's just handwritten. There's no right or wrong way to be human.
So let's discuss. That's deep. I like that.
Thank you. I was actually very skeptical about posting it because I didn't know what the response would be, because I thought it is a pretty, I don't know, it can be interpreted in many different ways. And I have seen comments of people, it's been posted in different places, and people. It's funny because I hardly ever get negative comments on mine, but then when I see it posted anywhere else, I'll see like negative comments there. Not negative, but it's just like questioning it, which is good. But yeah, some people were like, oh, well, like, I don't agree with that. Like, there is a wrong way. And I don't know. I think the place I was in when I wrote it was thinking about actually being human, what that meant. And I think being human alone, I don't think there's a formula to that. And yes, there are bad things that you can do, but I think that's what makes us human, is we are imperfect, and everything that a human does is in response to something. And so to call something good and to call something bad, I mean, first of all, I hate the word good and bad, and I don't think there should be ways to describe anything because they're so cheap and like don't really mean anything.
Especially something that goes in that has so much thought behind it, right? Like it's so quick to be able to be like, that's bad, I don't like that. Well, why not? You think about it for a second.
Yeah. And when you think of good people and bad people, I mean, that really puts people easily in categories that they don't belong in. Like, I don't think that, okay, you have to think, okay, why is that person good or why is that person bad? And when you start breaking it down, they become equal. And that was just, that's what I was just thinking. And it is interesting. I mean, if you do want to go back into like history and think where does that good and bad come from? I think that's just morality. And I think that has something to do with, faith but that isn't us. Like, I think deep down, like, we're just messy and imperfect. And so, I don't think there is a right or wrong way to be. And I think there's always room to grow, and there's always, I think, grace at the end of the tunnel. So, like, I question everything, and this is probably why I'm exhausted, because I just spend too much time thinking about things. But
it's amazing though, the depth. I don't know. I'm impressed with the depth of your thinking and the fact that like that is what goes into something like that.
Yeah.
Again, that is what art is to me. I feel like, and that's like, it makes me feel. It's gonna sound lame. It makes me feel like I'm not a true artist, because like I think that I think everybody is probably different in how they think about things, but like this is inspiring me to like go to dig deeper with like the things that I create. Like, why am I lining this shot up this way? And every little thing has to have a thought and a reason behind it.
Yeah, honestly, one of my favorite things has now become asking questions. It really has helped me to understand every aspect of everything that I do, and also who I am. And I think, especially with emotions, I'll spend a lot of time thinking, why am I feeling this way? And that's how I get to like the core of what that is. And then like a lot of the illustrations that I did with the Because Honestly series that I had going on Instagram, a lot of those were me spending hours thinking about, oh my gosh, like, why am I feeling this way? And the more that I would ask questions, the more that it would get to that core of, oh, this is why. And sometimes it's what I thought, and maybe sometimes it's way different, and it's connected to something completely different. But that truth, I mean, really, when you say the truth sets you free, I think it really does once you find out. And I think that, it goes with every aspect. Like, why do you do that? Why do you gravitate towards that visually? And there's always reasons. I think questioning it is really fun. Yeah,
definitely. How often does specific life experience go into your art?
A lot. I've realized nothing has really, I get frustrated by things, but I think what I've realized is because I don't want to talk about it yet. I haven't been making that artwork for it yet, but frustration and anger is actually my biggest inspiration. So if there isn't anything that's making me feel a certain way, then I'm like, I don't have anything to make. So I feel like I need to be frustrated about something and angry, which I guess recently has been politics.
You're right.
And I will be writing about that when I feel like it. But yeah.
I feel like I've had similar experiences where I'll just get really down on myself for not having a good idea for a while. And so I'll just go on this like destructive rampage of like making myself really bummed out somehow. And like, I don't know whether it's like,
Wow.
I don't know what goes into that, but like, and then like forcing myself to have an idea. It never really goes anywhere, but it's like forcing yourself into productivity sometimes.
Yeah. And I feel forcing definitely doesn't work for me.
No, it definitely doesn't. But sometimes you have to like jumpstart yourself
Yeah.
somehow. And then the days following usually are more productive as far as creativity goes. You just have to, I don't know what, I just remember being in that space a few times.
Yeah.
But would you say that you have any specific experiences that you could speak to that led to a piece of art that you've done, or a time period where you did a specific?
So yeah, a lot of the work is personally attached to what goes on in my life.
Right.
And I think because when I was younger, I had a lot of anxiety and wouldn't really talk about what's going on, or just didn't feel like that was a thing. Like
Right.
I didn't think, in school, like nobody really tells you, you can talk about life with people. Like
It is
I had
crazy
my
how
friends,
much life
but-
has changed in the last few years, right?
No, totally. And so I kept a lot to myself, and just even physically, like I couldn't speak up in school, and I felt like I had a lot to say, but I just felt like there was that block. And only through high school that I kind of broke that and became a bit more confident in my voice, and have used this illustration outlet to start saying things straightforward, like as they are, because that was one of my, it's funny because it clicked when I was in English class in high school. And until then I would write my essays, and I would like, instead of saying things as they are, like I would make my sentence really long and add words and like make it fluffier, because I thought that was like the way to actually say something. And then my teacher was like, I think she made a comment on my essay or said it to me in person. It was like, why don't you try doing shorter sentences and actually just like say what you want to say in those short sentences. And since then, that clicked with me. And I was like, oh, like I'm trying to put too much, and it's making my thoughts less powerful. And so that kind of stayed with me through my illustrations and through the work that I wanted to do personally. And it took a while for me to actually say things as they were. And I think especially going through heartbreak and going through things that I think only after going through them, I realized, oh, like there is manipulation and there is like this and that in this whole situation. I think the fact that I would start writing, and even like I would be so nervous posting anything that was straightforward. And to people, it might not make, like it might be so general, but like to me, just saying I was really hard because it was so personal. But I think I kind of told myself, okay, well, I'm going to be free of this feeling if I let this out. So yeah, I think heartbreak was a huge reference for my work, and just wanting to question things, and just my observations of how men and women treat each other, I think was a big subject for, especially the Because Honestly series, I think was mostly revolved around that, and just like other thoughts and observations, but a lot to do with like men and women. And I think in the past few years, just working in industries or on projects that might have a lot of men on the project, and being a woman and kind of maneuvering through that has been a really interesting learning experience. And just learning how to not let gender dictate the way the project runs, and just learning that I can be taken seriously as a person, as an artist. Yeah, so I think those experiences, relationships, and work relationships between men and women has been like a really strong topic for me.
Have you found in the last while that, or since you've been in the industry, have you found that it is very one-sided as far as the gender roles go?
I think it can depend. So I've worked with people that have been amazing, and then I've worked with some other people that have been a bit tougher to be understood by. And I think it's evolving and it's changing and shifting, which is an amazing thing. But I think there still needs to be conversation. And I think sometimes a person might not realize that what they're doing is damaging or unhealthy to the other person. And I think it's just a matter of like pointing it out or bringing that up. And if that is problematic, then it's toxic and you just have to kind of find a way out. But yeah, I find that a lot of situations will be just people not realizing that they're saying something, or that they're making a comment, or that they're, doing something that's not totally right.
Right.
And so, yeah, just kind of opening up a conversation, seeing where that leads. And if it's still not healthy, then it's not a right place for you.
Right. It's a big time for that right now. I think that more than ever, that conversation is, not that it wasn't acceptable before, but like it's
much more open.
It is much more open. And whereas in the past, if somebody brought something up, it was likely easier for it to be dismissed or pushed down. But now that the internet is so great for so many things, right? Like it just opens so many doors for that conversation and for those things to be revealed and
Yeah, it's interesting to see what everyone is saying and what people are experiencing. And I think it is still an ongoing conversation, especially in the music industry. I think film industry is moving forward much faster than the music industry. But I think it's a good sign that we're having conversations about it. And because a lot of it has to do with just generational stuff and what people are taught, or what you're brought up to believe, and it can be really, really subtle. And I think now we're just opening our eyes a little bit more to maybe that's why I've been feeling a little bit suppressed, or maybe feeling not like totally confident with my work, maybe because there is a bit of like a friction between genders. And yeah, I think it's just a matter of having an open conversation about it.
That's a good way to look at it. Thanks for checking out the Road Travel Podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show. You can find more episodes with other great guests at jessiedhunt.com/podcast or on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and YouTube. Don't forget to check out Melody's work at melody-hansen.com or on Instagram at themelodyh. We'll see you next time.